Hello, welcome to Tabletop CP. Today I'm going to be doing a short video on how to paint 95th rifles. The last rifleman I have left to complete is Hagman the Sharpshooter here, and he will be the subject of this video. And this is the standard that we will be going for today. The old high tabletop standard, as I call it. I'm not sure how much meaning that phrase really has, but it's something I like to use. It just pretty much indicates the amount of detail work I put into it and the amount of layers of highlights. So with that, we'll cut back on the BS and we'll just get started with Mr. Hagman. The first step of completing the rifleman will be to base coat the uniform, and for that I will be using Luftwaffe camo. That's it for the green base coat. So the green's a little bright, maybe a little too bright for 95th rifles, but I like the effect. At tabletop level you can really tell they're green more than like almost a black, which if you use the proper color for their uniform might be a little bit darker green, and at tabletop level that can kind of wash out and just become a blob. So I do prefer the brighter green, so we don't have Luftwaffe camo green. Next up is going to be the black. So the black, there's quite a bit of black on these guys. It's sort of the equivalent of the amount of white on the red coats, but for these guys it's black. So I'm trying to pick out all of the different black. There's the Shako is black, obviously. You got black cuffs, you got a black collar. All the belt and pouches are black. You got a black cross belt going across the front as well, and the black boots. And the black, you also have the black epaulets as well. So quite a bit of black on these guys. But black's an easy color to paint. So, and for that I'm just going to use straight up Vallejo black. It for the black, so I'll just go over everything that's black again just in case anyone is trying to follow this precisely. So the boots, the sword scabbard, the cuffs, the epaulets, this this cross belt here, the one that is holding on the ammo box, which is also black, the Shako, and then the collar. Those are all black. The next thing we will paint is the white, and these guys do not have a whole lot of white on them, thankfully. The only thing white is the bread bag and the bread bag strap. So it's kind of hard to see the bread bag on this guy since he's sitting down, but underneath the canteen there's the bread bag, and then the one of the two straps that are going the opposite of this black cross belt is the bread bag strap, which is white, and the other one, the canteen strap, which we'll get to, which is a brown color. But first thing we'll do is we'll paint the white. And for white, what I do is I use Pallid Witch Flesh from Citadel. It's a nice off-white color, and we'll show you how to highlight that in a minute. But that's the base for the white, is the Pallid Witch. The white. I also forgot this particular model, Hagman here. Sorry, my camera's at a weird angle. There we go. He has a white band around his arm. This is the mark of the chosen men, which means he's one of the chosen men. So I think only two of them out of this box have that. Three. Two of them are identical, but two and then this guy. So that's a white. That's white as well. And one more black thing that I failed to mention was the handle of the sword, the grip. They don't all have that, as some of them are holding it, or you can't see it, but most of them have a grip showing, and that's black as well. So the next thing we'll do is we'll start painting the rifle. And for the rifle, my standby wood color here is mahogany brown from Citadel. After the rifle wood is complete, I will paint the steel colored parts. So this would be the rifle barrel, the flint lock mechanism, as well as the blade of the sword. Some of them have their swords out, or the band, or it's mounted on the rifle. So the blade is also going to be a steel color. For that, I'm just using oily steel by Vallejo. Could be any steel color though. I believe, yeah, that's it. That's the only steel colored part. We will paint the canteen. The canteens are blue on all these British guys, which is nice. It has a little pop of color to them. So for the base coat for the canteen, I'm using this Calidor Sky from Citadel. Next we will paint the canteen strap that's going around his upper body here. And there's also, it's hard to see, but let's see here. You may notice on top of this black crossbelt there is another strap that is secured to the crossbelt that is holding on the Powderhorn. Both the canteen strap and this little extra strap on top of the black crossbelt will be used German camo medium brown. It's by Vallejo. That's the color I'm using. So it's going to be the cross belt for the canteen strap, and then the little secondary cross belt on top of the cartridge box cross belt. Next up, we're going to do the rifle sling, as well as the top of the bayonet scabbard is going to be this German camo black-brown color from Vallejo. Real quick tip, if you're new to painting, when you're painting something such as this strap on top of the strap, which is real thin, I found if you get some paint, you have to get paint right on the tip, and actually more paint than you think you might need, right on the tip of the brush. And then with a really light hand, you just drag it slowly over it, and it should just catch on just to that top piece, which is what you want painted. In this case, it got onto the black a little bit. I just went back and touched it up, but it's a little tip there. So next thing we'll do is the black-brown for the rifle sling, which he is using as a brace to get his aim, and then the top of the scabbard. Next thing we will paint is a powderhorn. These guys were carrying special powder, finer powder for shooting more accurately with their rifles. The line troops didn't have that, they just had the cartridges, but these guys have actually a special canister of, or a special container with the powder in it. And I'm going to paint that as a horn, hence the name. And for that I'm going to use Citadel Screaming Skull. Will be the shako decoration, the palm, and then there's a cord going around the outside, and this is going to be green for the light infantry, I believe. And for that I've been using German camo bright green from Vallejo. I think my battery died partway through that, but the palm is done. So again, just get a little bit of get your paintbrush point super pointy, dip it in the paint, even have a little bit of a ball on the end, and then again with a really light hand just drag, and it'll catch that little raised edge where that cord is. So just a little tip there, but we'll move on. Next is going to be the gold. So for gold, let's see, there's a little piece on the rifle stock. I don't know if you can see it or not, but I think it holds cleaning supplies or something, cleaning kit for the rifle. Also the end of the scabbard, The buckle on the sling is gold. The handle of the sword bayonet is gold. There's a button on this little pouch up here. You can't see it on him, but some of them have it. That's a gold button. And then the ends of the Powderhorn, both ends, are going to be gold as well. And there is a little dot. You can barely see it, but there is a tiny dot just above the emblem here on the Shako. That's a little gold dot. And for that, I'm just going to use gold. And my gold that I use is Auric Armor Gold by Citadel. Next we will do the silver. Silver, all the buttons, he doesn't have a lot of buttons visible, but this guy, for example, has quite a few. The buttons, the top part of the cuffs, the top, and I believe even the bottom part of the collar is supposed to have it, but I don't do the bottom. I can't do that final line, so I just do the top of the collar in silver. And there's sometimes, or they should all have them, but not all of the models have them, but there's some buttons along the cuffs as well that are silver, and the Shako emblem is silver as well. And yeah, that's it. And for that, I just use this Model Air silver from Vallejo. It could be any silver color. I wouldn't use the steel. I'd go with the silver as it stands out a little bit more. So we'll go ahead and get that done. Last step of blocking in the colors. Last thing I need to do is his hair. So Hagman in the book is described as being an old man. Of course, in those days, he could have been in his 30s and been considered an old man, but since he is considered old, I'm going to do gray hair. So I'm just going to use this neutral gray from Vallejo. Now all the main colors are blocked in. Now what we're going to do is get our bottle of Liquid Talent, Agrax Earthshade, and we're just going to slop it all over the model. Fairly heavy, doesn't have to pool, you don't want it to pool in places and completely obscure detail, but you can put it on fairly heavy. Let's do that real quick. So that's it. So that's phase one complete. That's the blocking in and the wash. The wash is just really good at it adds depth, it adds shadow. It's also really good if there's parts of the model deep down that the primer couldn't get to. It'll fill those in. It'll sometimes even cover up small mistakes if you've overpainted, say on a strap or something. It just is a magical, to me it's a magical creation, this Agrax Earthshade, as it just instantly makes the model better. But I do this pretty much with every model that I've ever painted. Block it in, give it the Agrax, and once this is dry, we'll come back and we'll start the building up the color again. Now that the wash has dried, what we'll do is we're going to basically start the whole process over again with the same colors. The first thing to remember is not to fill in the areas with the shadow that we just made with the wash. So this step takes a little bit of more care than the blocking in of the colors, as you're going to try to be very careful not to cover up any of that nice shadow we just developed. So I'll just start with the uniform, so I'm just going to go back to the Luftwaffe Camo Green and carefully go over the uniform, leaving the shadows in place. Finish the first highlighting layer of the uniform. What I'm going to do now is take some of this German Camo Bright Green, make it about 50-50 with the Luftwaffe Camo Green, and that's going to be our final highlighting layer. Now you could, if you really wanted to add more, you could actually add a little bit less of the German camo bright green in with the Luftwaffe green and do multiple layers building up. But I'm just going to do one 50-50. The more you add, the more detailed it is, but we're just doing a quote high tabletop standard, so it's going to be the base color plus one layer of highlights. So 50-50 Luftwaffe camo green and German camo bright green. So that is the uniform complete. I don't know if you can so you can see it's got some highlights now. It's nothing too impressive when you look at close, but from tabletop distance it adds another layer of depth to the model. While I was at it and had the German camo bright green out, I also redid the palm and the cord. And to highlight that, I added a little bit of the pallid witch flesh to the bright green. And then this is a softer material, so it's got a lot of indentations and stuff. So what I do is I just tap at it with the tip, so it leaves some of those darker areas where the wash is to make it look a little bit more three-dimensional. So that is the palm and the uniform. Now I'll do the black. So to highlight black, what you do is you highlight it with dark gray. And in this case, I'm going to use black gray as my first layer of highlights. And with that, I'll cover probably, I don't know, maybe 30% of the black with the black gray. And when I get to just the edges, like the edge around the top of the shako, around the edge of the brim, maybe the very edges of the cuff, stuff like that, I will use a German camo, where is it here? It's a German gray. It's Panzer gray, and I do have it somewhere. I just don't know where it is at the moment, but it's Vallejo Model Air German gray, and so that's what I'll use to do the second layer of highlights. That is the gray complete. I don't know if you can see it too well, but it's there. It's a lot easier to see in person. But that just adds a little bit of highlight into the black. Next thing I'm going to do is the rifle stock. And again, I'll just go back to the mahogany brown, hit it again, and then I will add a little bit of the pallid witch flesh to the mahogany brown and go over just the very tips and the high points on the stock. Next up, I will redo the white. So I'll go over it with the pallid witch flesh again. And then with the highlighting the white, one of the reasons I use the off-white, the pallid witch flesh, is so I can highlight it with the pure white. So I'll just do the pallid witch flesh over the bread bag and the chosen man identifier. And then I'll get just pure white and slightly hit the edges. Next I will do the Canteen Strap and the extra strap on top of this cartridge box strap with the German camo medium brown. That's all I'm going to do. I'm not going to actually do a second highlight of that because there's really not a whole lot to highlight, especially on this one along the go in this direction. So I'm just going to do just one layer of highlights, German camo medium brown. Next up I will do the canteen. So the canteen, same process, start again with the base color Calidor Sky. But in this case I am going to use this Techless Blue to highlight. And the highlights on the canteen, I just go around the edge, the lip of it here, and then I do a little swirl kind of inside with the Techless Blue to make it just add some highlights to that flat face of the canteen. Next up we'll do the sling and the top of the scabbard, and this is the German camo black brown part, and I will again use a small amount of pallid witch flesh to highlight the top edge of the sling. I did mean to say add the, of course, obviously add the pallid witch flesh to the German camo black brown. Next thing I'll do the gun barrel, all the steel, which is I think just the barrel, and I'll do the powderhorn as well. For that I just hit it with another coat of Screaming Skull. I don't highlight that either, but if you wanted to, you could add a little bit of pallid witch flesh again into the Screaming Skull to add a little bit of highlighting to the powder. So next up will be the gold and silver, and again I just use the same colors. I don't highlight those. You could add a little bit of the silver to the gold if you wanted to make a gold highlight. There's not really any way to highlight the silver except for maybe with a brighter silver. I think I have one called aluminum that's a little bit brighter than silver, but in this case we're just going to go over it lightly with the original colors. Alright, finished the metal. So I did the collars and everything, gold. I also did his hair. On his hair I just went back over it once with the neutral gray. And on a model like this, especially a metal model where there's actually some definition in the hair and some detail, what I did was I just got some gray and just stippled it on the hair, which makes it gives it a sort of a salt and pepper look. You can see some definition in the hair itself, so it's kind of nice with the metal models. That's it. The model itself is done. Like I said earlier, if you wanted to keep adding layers, you could, but I'm just going to stop here. And now we got to work on the skin, which is my least favorite part. And the way I do this, I'm going to start with some light skin. In this case, I'm using Highlight Flesh Hands or Aces. I don't even know if I make this anymore. And if it ever runs out, I'm going to be in trouble, but I'll make do, I guess. So I'm going to just put a base coat of this on. And then I will highlight the nose, bridge of the nose, the ears, the chin, stuff like that with some pallid witch flesh. And then after that I will water down a little bit of this Reichland flesh shade and put it over that. That's it, skin done. I also did the eye. Luckily on this guy you only have to paint one eye since he's aiming. I hate painting eyes, so I don't know if I can zoom in enough to even see where this is, but probably can't see his eye, but it's there. So the eye is painted and the model is done. The model itself is done. Next up I have to do the base. Everyone does bases differently, so I'm not going to really go over in detail. I'll quickly go over how I do the base for all of my guys, but pretty much what I do is I get some cheap craft paint from the store. Michael's in this case. Any craft store will have this kind of paint. It's like $2 or something for all this. I use this on all my bases. It saves money. Using Vallejo or Games Workshop paints to paint bases, especially on big models, would be not very cost effective. So this works fine. And then after that, after that's dry, I'll dry brush and just tan earth color over it. I'll do the edge in this tan earth as well. And then once that's dry, I will get some PVA glue, put it around the base, and sprinkle a little bit of the static grass on it. And that's it, real simple. So I'll just do that real quick, and then when I come back, we're gonna take a look at the rest of the 95th rifles that I've completed. And here we have the completed force. This is the Warlord Games Chosen Men box comes with all of this stuff. So I'm going to be using these for sharp practice. So for that game, that means I have 2 groups of riflemen, light infantry skirmishers. I have the Sharpshooter, which is an upgrade to one of the units that you can buy with support points, and that'll be Hagman here. I also have Richard Sharp as the Force Commander. It also comes with a Bugler, which will be a musician in sharp practice. So if I decide to make Sharp the overall Force Commander, I can buy the musician with some support points. It doubles his command range, and he will be able to command anyone within 18 inches of him, which is really nice. And it also comes with Sergeant Harper, who will be a level 1 leader, either assisting if I'm running them both in a formation. So I can run them together like this. I could break them apart and have Sharp over here and Harper over here. Yeah, so those are the options to run in sharp practice. Obviously there's other games that use these too, but that's what I play with. And yeah, so that's the Force. It's really nice. I believe they've remade these in plastic, but I was lucky enough to get the old metal ones, which I think are a lot nicer. And I'm happy with them. These are going to go great with my British that I've been working on for quite some time now, and technically that Force I think is done, and I will show that off in a separate video, but for now, 95th Rifle's complete, and the main, the goal that I had set at the beginning for my British Army is complete when I completed this guy. So the rest is just going to be add-ons to that, just to add a little bit more fluff to it and a little bit more interesting units, but the British Army is ready to go. And like I said, I'll do another video showing off that whole army. And I'm going to do a red coat painting video as well. So that's one of the things I've already added, or I'm already working on adding to my quote core force, is another group of line. And I will be doing a video on those. So anyway, I hope you guys find this video useful, and let me know what you think. And with that, we'll see you guys next time.